Good afternoon, boys. Today we're going to be looking at presentation and data response. This comes up in a paper too. And what we're going to be looking at is when you do a presentation, what do you need to do before, during, and after? So before I go into the content, I want you to really think logically about what you do when you know that you've got to do a presentation at school. You would sit first and write out your presentation, put it into a logical order. You'd think about where you would stand in the classroom. You would possibly even practice at home in front of the mirror. So really, it's the same kind of thing that businessmen have to do too. So before the presentation, they must have or know very well who they're going to be presenting to, who their audience is, because you're going to speak very differently to a group of highly educated people than if you were going to be speaking to grade fives. Your presentation should be logical, and it must include a strong introduction, a body, and then a conclusion that summarizes everything. It's important to state the aims at the beginning of your presentation. So you would start by saying, today I'm going to be focusing on the reasons for taking business studies. You also want to outline the most important information first because your audience will remember that. It's also very useful and very important to create visual aids, as this will keep your audience engaged, right? As I said, when you do your conclusion, it's about summarizing those key findings. You also need to consider what the venue is going to look like. How big is it? Are you going to need a microphone? Is your voice going to project to the back? You also need to know how much time you have to do your presentation. Are they giving you 45 minutes or are they only giving you 10 minutes? You want to keep to that time frame. It's really important to rehearse your presentation, either in front of a mirror or to someone that you trust, and then get the feedback from them. And lastly, you've got to prepare for possible questions that your audience might ask you. So think about questions that some of them could ask and have answers already ready for that. So let's now move on to what you do during a presentation. So you want to establish credibility. So you're standing up there and you're giving your talk. You want to say who you are and what you have accomplished so far in your life. You again want to show the most important information first. You want to make the purpose, the main points of the presentation clear at the very beginning of your presentation. You want to use suitable titles, headings, and subheadings. You don't want to overcrowd your PowerPoint presentation. Right at the end, you want to summarize the main points of a presentation to conclude your talk. You want to stand in a good position, upright, shoulders back, head up, where the audience can clearly see you from anywhere in the room. You want to avoid hiding behind any equipment so that you look small and insignificant. You want to take charge. Also, don't ramble on at the start. That will lose the audience's attention. You want to capture the listener's attention, involve the audience with a variety of methods. And you can do this by inserting short video clips or having sound effects or using humor to get them engaged. Maintain your eye contact with the audience. Be audible to all listeners or audience. Vary the tone of your voice, so make it loud and then soft, and also possibly quicken the way you say certain things. This really keeps your audience interested. Make the presentation interesting with the use of visual aids, anecdotes, examples from your real life. Everyone loves to hear a good story. Use appropriate hand gestures to emphasize points. Let's say you were wanting to tell a little secret. You would soften your voice and lean forward so that you really are engaging with your audience. Speak with energy and enthusiasm. Pace yourself. Don't rush or talk too slowly. That's going to make everyone very bored. Keep the presentation short and to the point. End with a strong or striking ending or quote that people are going to remember. And ensure that your audience leaves or takes away information with them. So you could give them a handout that they can refer back to the information that you had. Manage your time effectively so that you're allowing for questions and answers at the very end. So that is about how you go about during the presentation. Now we're going to move on to after the presentation. Okay, so you need to understand that your audience is going to ask you questions, but make sure that you understand that question that is being asked. If you are unsure about the question, rephrase the question. So say, am I correct in understanding that you want to know? Right, so rephrase it to get a better understanding of it. Listen very carefully to each question. There's nothing more frustrating than an audience member who sits there and thinks, oh, he didn't understand what I was asking. And think carefully before responding. And if you don't know the answer, say that. I don't know the answer. I'm going to have to come back to you on that. Address the question, not the person. So don't attack the person or query the person as to why they asked that question. Rather acknowledge that it's a good question that's been asked. And at all times, remain professional, polite, calm, and non-aggressive. Whatever you do, do not get into a debate or an argument. So the focus for the after the presentation is really on that question and answer session. Okay, so it's about preparing for how you're going to handle or answer those questions. I hope that that's given you a good understanding of the 3 different times that you need to consider when you're preparing a presentation. Have a good day.